Okay, welcome. We're here today with Dan Ebener, who is the author of the book Servant Leadership Models for Your Parish. And we wanted to interview Dan because we've heard his presentation about servant leadership before, and for the fact that he authored a book, we have a fall conference that is focused on activating your ambition and achieving your goals. So what we want to know from Dan is how he was able to write his book and activate his ambition to accomplish that task. Dan?
Well, thanks, LuAnn. I think I'm just very passionate about leadership. That's the key word. I think to write a book and stay with it, you just have to be passionate. You have to have a real strong passion, a strong belief that what you're writing about is very critical, not only to you, but to organizations outside of yourself. I teach full-time in the Masters of Organizational Leadership program at St. Ambrose, and my students have a lot of similar kind of concerns about leadership that I do. And they help fuel my passion because they are seeing, and I'm seeing, the difficulty that organizations are having across the board due to a sore lack of leadership, whether it's in our political arena, whether it's in our business organizations, our schools, our churches, on the playground, in sports arenas. We desperately need better leadership in this world. And that's what fueled my passion, my ambition, if you will, for writing the book, is that I feel that the world needs to take a look at the way we're providing leadership, and we've got to develop better leaders, stronger leaders, more powerful leaders, and ones who can use that power in a way that serves others rather than serving their own needs and interests. So I read about servant leadership, which basically comes out of the message of Jesus. So this is also, for me, part of my faith commitment. That I believe that when we want to practice our faith, it shouldn't stop. Our faith life should not stop at the end of our church services. It should be something that we practice week long. And we spend a good part of our weeks in our workplace businesses. And so if leadership, if we're going to practice our faith week long, we have to figure out a way to take the message of our faith into our workplaces. And the best way I can see of doing that is to look at how we lead, how we manage, how we follow, how we can be of service as we spend that 40 hours a week in our workplaces doing whatever it is that we do. Because I think another key part of this is that organizations need to tap into what their mission is. How do the work that they do every day, how does that tap into the common good? How does it tap into some kind of a social benefit that they provide beyond just a paycheck? And so it takes us into the whole arena of transformational leadership as well, which talks about how do you intrinsically motivate people so that they're inspired to do what they're doing, that they can see how the work that they're doing is more than just, a poor little worker trying to get through the day. Instead, they're actually making a difference. And so how do we get people to connect the dots and see what they do as somehow contributing to the common good? I see all of this as part of leadership, and that's why I wrote the book, is to try to connect these dots for people and to try to improve the quality of leadership in so many of our organizations.
Okay. The whole idea of servant leadership is very important in the Toastmaster community too. So that's one thing that we really want to stress as part of this conference too, is the whole idea of servant leadership. Now, when you got started to write your book, how did you get started? You wanted to write this book.
Mm-hmm.
That was your ambition. So how did you activate it? How did you get started? And what kind of challenges did you have along the way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I started with the research off my dissertation for my doctorate in business. And during my doctorate in business, I took every class and asked myself, okay, what is this class and what is teaching me about business? What does this have to do with church? What does this have to do with nonprofits? What does this have to do with the mission of for-profit organizations? How can I begin to connect the dots at that particular time? So I did a lot of research and then translated that dissertation. It took about 7 different reworkings of the dissertation to turn it into a book. And that's, if you don't have passion for what you're doing, you're probably not going to make it to the end. You have to somehow see that what you're doing is going to benefit, and for me, it was what's the common good benefit for what I'm doing? how am I making a difference in the lives of other people? How am I going to help organizations perform better? How can I increase the effectiveness of leadership in our world? That's what fueled me. And honestly, the students that I teach on a regular basis help fuel this passion, and also help stimulate my ideas about, how can we talk about leadership in better and more effective ways. I learn every bit as much as the students do in every class I teach. I'm always learning about leadership. I go into a class open to, okay, what new things can I learn about leadership as I teach this class? And my students are teaching me all the time, as they're teaching each other. So it's not just Dan teaching a group of students, it's really all of us teaching ourselves together. And as I was learning from my students, I was writing that into the book. I'm writing the second book now on servant leadership, and some people tell me what I should do is take 6 months off and just write the book. And I try to tell them, if I were just totally divorced from teaching in a classroom, I would lose my connectedness to what it is that I'm writing about. The teaching of classes stimulates my thinking about what it is that I'm writing about. And so the two work hand in hand for me. Part of it is because I'm so extroverted, and I think better out loud, and I think working with others than I do just sitting in a room all by myself. Now, there does come a time when you've got to actually sit down and write it up. But by the time I get there, I'm so passionate about what I'm doing, and I am so filled with some new ideas that I'm just anxious to get it out there. Another suggestion I would make for people who are writing a book is just don't stop and edit until you've really fully written the full idea out there. Just let your fingers walk on the keyboard for a while, get your message out there, and then go back and edit later. I think that was one of the things I learned in writing, is that you can always edit later. But just while the flow is there, while you're in the moment, go with it. Let the adrenaline keep flowing. Because I feel adrenaline while I'm typing this stuff, because I feel so passionate about what it is that I'm doing.
Yeah, you can tell very much that you're very passionate about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Now, if folks are interested in this whole concept of servant leadership, is there someplace they can go and find out more information?
They can go to my website, which is servantleadershipmodels.com, www.servantleadershipmodels.com. All my writings are there. And there's lots of stuff. The Greenleaf Center for Servant Leadership out of Indianapolis does great work. I spoke at their conference a couple weeks ago in Dallas. They are the ones who are named after the guy who first coined the term servant leadership in 1971, Robert Greenleaf. And his whole concept of leadership, he was an AT&T guy, was that leaders should be motivated first to serve and then to lead. And that's the really important key distinction between servant leadership and many other kinds of leadership. It's a philosophy that says that leadership begins with a motivation to serve others, to serve an organization, to serve a mission, to serve the common good. Okay, so if you're looking at how I can be of service to others truly and pure, right now I'm writing about the Beatitudes, and one of the Beatitudes talks about blessed are the pure of heart, and it's having that purity of heart, that your intention is purely to serve. And this is something I think leaders have to examine their consciences on a regular basis to make sure that, I'm not really in this for some ulterior motive, but my motive really is to serve. And then once you've worked on that piece, that's kind of the internal journey, then everything we know about leadership comes into play. So the external journey of leadership, how do I resolve conflicts? How do I make decisions? How do I involve others? How do I communicate better? All of those things that we know about leadership come into play after you've really worked on this internal journey of being motivated first to serve and then motivated to lead. The motivation to lead comes out of such a deep sense of commitment for the mission that you're trying to accomplish, that you want to be successful on this mission, and therefore you're willing to take the risk and and sometimes the punishment of being a leader to move that mission forward. And so we say motivated first to serve and then to lead.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dan, for helping us out with our video series here on Activating Your Ambition.
Well, thanks to my students.
And thank you very much to the students who were listening to this at St. Ambrose University.
Okay, thanks a lot
with
with that.
that.